Hi there, this is Tracy from Apparel Pattern Making. I thought I would share with you a video here on how to make the Anno and Pum peasant dress sewing pattern. Here is a little closer look, maybe you can see better. So this is the pattern we are going to learn how to sew today. It's a strapless dress, as you can see. Great for summertime, for maybe a cover up for a swimsuit or something cool to wear. It has 6 buttons or 5 buttons there up and down the front, and you have a tie, a sash you can wear that's completely removable if you do not want to wear it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you today how to go ahead and make this pattern. First of all, we have all of our pattern pieces all cut out. As you can see here, we have your tie piece all cut out. You have your front, which is all cut out and it's been tiled together. I've gone ahead and used the layering of the PDF patterns where I only had the size extra large print for me, so I've gone ahead and tiled that size together only. And then last of all, I have my back pattern piece that's all tiled together. So as you can see, my fabric is already laying down. I have a piece of fabric that's approximately probably 44, 45 inches wide. I have my fold on one side over here, and I have my selvage on the other side over here. I'm going to go ahead and take my back piece first, and I'm going to go ahead and line up my fold. As you can see, you have your arrow on here for place unfold. I will go ahead and place that solid line there on the fold of my fabric. You can definitely go ahead and cut that line right there where it's on your fold all the way off if you like to, so you can have a little better vision of how well your fabric is matching on the fold of the fabric. So you can definitely do that too. So I'm gonna go ahead and weight down my fabric. I'm not really into pinning fabrics. I really like to work with the weights. So I'm gonna go ahead and weight that down. And then from there, I can start cutting out my pieces. As you can see, there's a notch on a couple of the pieces. This one right here has a notch on the side. Let's see if I can show you on the front a little closer up. You can see this little notch right there. Some of my notches will be teased like this. Some of my notches will be triangles. So a couple different options you can do. What I will do is typically I will just take right inside there and right where that notch is, I will just make a little cut into my fabric. So say if my seam allowance is a 1/2 inch, I may cut in maybe 1/4 of an inch. Or if my seam allowance is 1/4 inch, I would cut in maybe 1/8 of an inch. I don't want to cut through that sew line though. Your other option too is if you have your little pyramid, or sorry, triangular shape, you can definitely just cut out and around your little triangular shape. Go ahead and take our front pattern piece, and we're going to go ahead and lay this one out on our fabric also. Again, you have your fold right here, so you'll want to place your line, your solid cut line here, right on the fold of your fabric. here we have our tie pattern piece, which I've gone ahead already and laid out on my fabric. My tie piece is also going the same grain parallel to my selvage edge. So I've had to use quite a bit of extra fabric to make this work since I have a fold right here. So this is my fold of my fabric, my selvage edge, and as you can we're going to start off here by marking our button places. We have 5 button placements right here you can see, and we're going to start off by marking those. And there's a couple different options how I like to do it, or others may like to do it. You can do the typical tracing wheel with marking paper and use that to trace on your fabric. Or I like to take just like a black or a colored China marker and just use this to mark. So first of all, if you like, you could go ahead and take your tracing paper, as you can see here, and we'll go ahead and lay it underneath the button placements. And I'm just gonna go right in the center here, and I'm just gonna make like a little cross mark. That is all I'm gonna do. Right where I'm gonna be stitching basically that button onto my fabric. So I'll go to each one and make that marking. So that's one way to do it. So for the last one, I'm going to actually take my pin here, and what I do is I'm just going to go ahead and find that center placement, and I will turn it right back, and then I will take my marking pin and I will just literally put a little black mark right there where that spot is, versus having the marks from the transfer paper. Next, you need to go ahead and we'll have to cut our elastic to length for our top upper bust area. So as you can see, hopefully you can see this as I get closer on your tutorial pages, you have the front neckline here in the back area that all needs to have elastic. On the Fabrics and Notions requirements, it'll state how wide your elastic should be. This is going to be 1 inch for our elastic. And then if you go down below where it says fabric and trim yardage down below, it's going to specify for your size how much elastic you need to cut. I am working on an extra large, so I don't know if you can see that, but it requires 38.5 inches of elastic. So I'm going to go ahead and take my pen, my chalk marker, I guess you could call it, not my pen, and I'm going to go ahead and measure my elastic 38.5 inches long. Make my mark. I've made my mark so you can see where my 38.5 inches are, and then I'll go ahead and just cut that elastic. Then I am now ready. I'll add this to my fabric pile and I'll get ready to start my sewing process. So I'm getting ready now to sew my side seams together on my front and back. But first of all, what I've done is have my front piece and my back piece right here. So I have the two pieces right here. And what I've done is I've gone along the side seam and I looked for that little tiny notch that I cut in my side seam of my front. And then I did the same thing for my back. I looked for that little tiny notch that I cut or marked. And basically, I'm taking the side seam and matching them together where those two little notches line up right there along the side seam. So I know this is my top edge and it's not my top edge and my bottom edge of my front or my back. So I'm going ahead and matching those little notches up. So once you have that side seam all matched up, you can go on over to your sewing machine or your serger, and you can join the side seams. And I am going to go ahead and use my serger. In the tutorial, it gives you a few different options of different stitch techniques you can use. You can use just the serger all by itself, or you can go ahead and you can use your sewing machine and finish the raw edges off with zigzag stitches, with a serged edge, anything you would kind of like that would help keep your fabric from fraying. So you can definitely refer to the tutorial and look at that. And there's my one side seam that has now been serged together. I am now going to go to the other side seam. And I will work on serging the next side seam together. And again, there you go. I have both of my side seams now serged together. Here we have your pre-cut elastic. I have already gone ahead and marked it. I folded it in half and marked the center point, and I've marked the quarter sections along. So there's your halfway point, and you go for long. Here's your quarter point. So basically next what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take your elastic, and we're going to take the ends here, and we basically just want to overlap them by, like, say about 1 inch. We will overlap them and then bring them into our sewing machine and join them together so that we have a reinforced circular tube. You should have something that should look like this, that you've gone ahead and overlapped that 1 inch on each side and basically reinforced so that you now have a tube of elastic. And you should have markings every quarter section of the elastic so that we can match those up. Those markings will get matched up to your side seams, your center back, and your center front. Okay. So now I have my dress. I've gone ahead and take the side seams, so the side seams are matching each other. So I have my center front fold on this side here, on one side, and I have my center back fold on the other side. I've also gone ahead and my center front neck, I've made a tiny little mark right there at that center front fold at my neckline. And I've also done a tiny little mark at the center back fold of my neckline. That is basically for me so I can line up the elastic when I attach it. So I will take my center mark on my elastic and I will match that to my front. And then I'm going to go ahead and pin those together. And I will do the same thing all the way around. So now I'm going to take my side seam and pin it to the side marking, as you can see here. And I'm pinning all on the back side of the fabric. Here's my other side seam. So you can see here along the neckline. Pinning my elastic again. And then we'll go ahead and take where the fold is that we joined our elastics together, and we're going to place that right at the center back, centered. And I'll go ahead and pin that together. Okay, so we're going to do on this example, what we're going to do is we're going to join or serge the neckline straight to our elastic. There's a couple different options you can do this. You can take it where you just serge your elastic right to the fabric, or there's another option where you can actually go back and you can create yourself a tunnel all the way around and then insert your elastic at the end. So right now we'll go ahead and show you just how to join this if we were going to stitch elastic straight to our fabric. So make sure that notch is lined up correctly in the right location. And elastic, and we're going to get all that underneath the serger. Okay, so when I do this, I kind of work in quarter sections. So I have the center back basically already stabilized as it's under the presser foot. And then I have the next section, which is my side seam. The elastic is pinned to there. So I'll work in that small little section. So as I go along, I'm going to have to stretch my elastic as I sew. So my elastic's going to be much smaller than my fabric. So I'll just slightly pull my elastic and feed it through the machine. So now you can see the serged edge. And you can see how your elastic was serged all the way around onto your neckline. And you can see how your fabric's all kind of gathered up. As you pull your elastic, it kind of shears the fabric back together when you release the elastic. All right, we have our elastic that's already been joined, serged onto our back. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that elastic edge and we're going to turn it back over and we're going to pin it to our side seam, our center front, pin it down, turn it down and pin, and then our other side seam, and then all the way to the center back again, we'll pin it down. I've attached a piece of paper or a label at my center back, so I know this is my center back when I get ready to put it on. So next what you're going to want to do is place your folded edge of elastic into the machine, and you're going to start top stitching all along the serged edge. So I put my presser foot down. I'm actually putting my needle in the down position, so every time that I stop on the accelerator, the presser foot down below to give it gas, it will stop with the needle down. So I am going to go ahead now, and what I'm going to do is I've got it folded, I am going to pull, I'm going to hold it stable behind my presser foot, but I'm also going to pull my elastic like we did earlier, that it goes all the way out till the fabric is flat and not sheared. And then I will go ahead and start joining my elastic through all layers. And every so often I slightly tug to make sure I don't have any extra fabric or too much fabric up above. It's not being folded over. And then once you come back to the end, go ahead and release and cut your threads. And then you should have a finished tunnel stitched. Again, if you don't want to do it this way, you can definitely always pre-sew a closed tunnel and then insert your elastic at a later time. That's another option. There you go, there's your tunnel. all stitch closed with your serged edge. Next step we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the hem of your dress and we're going to go ahead and serge it. Or if you want, on a sewing machine, you could just zigzag it even to prevent it from fraying. So we're just going to go ahead and take that edge of the hem and we're just going to run it through our serger. Okay. So then we've just basically gone around and we've just serged our edges so it's not going to fray on us. So I've gone around the hem of the skirt and I've pinned up my hem all the way around 1.5 inches. So I don't know if you can see hopefully here, but the whole hem has been turned up 1.5 inches and pinned in place. And I've placed it now in my sewing machine with a 1 1/2 inch turn up. And now I'm going to go ahead and top stitch it all the way around. And now you have a finished turned up hem. All around. Here we have our tie, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to finish the tie. So I got both ends here. I have my folded end over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these cut ends and we're just going to fold it in half this way. And what you can do this with a serger, you can do this with your sewing machine, it doesn't matter. We are just basically going to close this off. So join the ends together first. So you can see, first of all, you have your end joined. Then from there, we're going to stitch from where I just joined the end down about 5-6 inches. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to join those all together. So I've gone and joined about 5-6 inches down, and then what I'm going to do from there next is I am going to start maybe another 3 inches or 4 inches down maybe. I'm going to leave like an opening. So there's where I stopped, and then I'm going to start right here and continue to close that whole length down. And we'll join all the way to the end where we have the last opening right there. So now that you got to stitch the ends here, that whole length, now we're going to go ahead and close this edge too. So you have the whole edge closed, just like when we started, and this whole side length. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come back to where that opening was, that we left. And I have this tool here that helps pull fabrics back through themselves to make them right side out. So I'm going to go ahead and take this tool and insert it into that tube. I am going to go ahead and catch that fabric, that stitching, that seam there, that I can get a hold of it, and I will now start feeding that edge that I caught all the way back through the tunnel. And I'll do it very easily so I don't lose that edge. There we go, made it all the way through. And there's my end that I just stitched. We'll go ahead and pull out those corners a little better. And you have quarter edge. You have to work a little bit on your corners. You'll have to work and clean those corners up and get them nice. But then now you can just go ahead and pull the rest of it out. So it's right side out now. So then all you have to do is come back on the other side, our short end, and do the same thing. So once you've done that, both ends, what you can do next is you can take your opening that you have here and pin it closed. And once it's pinned closed, all you need to do then is top stitch the edge to finish. All right, so here we go. Here's our tie, where we just have the openings, the opening, which I've pinned. So I pinned it closed, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch from where the stitching stopped, where the stitching stops on this end, and I've pinned it all closed. I'll go ahead and stitch through all those layers of fabric. And then, voila, there you go. You've closed your edge right there. You have a nice closed edge. Lastly, finish off by hand or machine sewing your buttons on and enjoy your new garment.